I do think that it is manly in the way that, like, my dad would try to fix the sink, and he's not a plumber.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so, like, we own the tools, because you can buy tools.
Yes.
Don't just let anybody have the tools. They don't ask you if you're going to tear up your house at all. They'll let you buy the hammer, the screwdriver. They'll let you buy, like, the
hatchet.
And so then you bring it home, and in your head as a man, you're like, I have the tools. So if anything happens, I'm at least halfway there. Never mind, the other half is like knowledge. And so then there's like a leaky faucet, and so you get under the sink, you move all the Lysol, all the stuff out of the way, and then you're under there, and it's very uncomfortable. You're like, wow, I can't believe that there are people that do this without complaining. And then the way that thought process.
Here's Trump on Saturday mocking the speech impediment Joe Biden has had since childhood.
2 nights ago, we all heard Crooked Joe's angry, dark, hate-filled rant of a State of the Union address. Didn't it bring us together? Remember, he said, I'm going to bring the country together.
Wow. You really want to go there? First of all, Biden didn't stutter like that. Second, if you want to make this a word talking contest, you're one of the weirdest speakers in human history.
He sold himself as the ultimate deal maker, the billionaire outsider who would clean up Washington and rewrite history. But when Josh Johnson and Stephen Colbert rip into Donald Trump, that shiny myth collapses in seconds. They expose the chaos, the blunders, and the circus of contradictions that follow him everywhere, tearing apart the genius image he tries so hard to sell. From the boardroom to the Oval Office, every joke hits like a sledgehammer, proving Trump's empire runs not on brilliance, but on pure spectacle.
Trump knows Epstein so well. They were friends. Trump lived so close to Epstein in Florida that Epstein had to knock on his door and let him know he was on the sex offender registry. Like, that's how close they lived together. He knocked on the door, was like, hi, the court has ordered me to notify you that I'm in the area. I have been convicted of a few crimes, and I left my suit jacket over here last night, so.
Of course, when Trump hasn't been asleep, he's been violating his gag order by posting messages attacking witnesses and prosecutors and jurors. So before testimony resumed today, Judge Merchan finally issued his ruling on those violations, fining Trump $9,000. Now, I know, $9,000 may not seem like a lot to a successful businessman, but what about to Trump?
Donald Trump never just enters a room. He storms in, like a man convinced the chandeliers should flicker on cue, and a brass band should strike up his campaign anthem the second he arrives. Trump doesn't walk, he performs a parade. For years, he's marched through politics, media, and American culture like a peacock draped in stolen feathers from a Las Vegas costume shop. But when Josh Johnson and Stephen Colbert take their shots, those feathers start flying off. And what's left behind isn't power or majesty, it's absurd, laugh-out-loud ridiculous, and strangely tragic all at once.
They created the Epstein files, just like they created the fake, all caps, Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele dossier that they used on me. And now my so-called friends, this man hurt because my so-called friends, as a world leader, my so-called friends is the most Regina George Mean Girls line I've ever heard in my entire life. My so-called friends is wild.
Josh Johnson doesn't waste a second pointing out that Trump is the first president who acts less like a leader and more like a contestant trapped inside his own reality show. He doesn't govern, he auditions. Every rally feels like a season finale. Every press conference plays out like a blooper reel. And every tweet or off-the-cuff punchline usually lands like a drunk uncle bombing at stand-up during Thanksgiving dinner. Josh cracks that Trump looks like a guy who stumbled into the Oval Office thinking it was just another wing of Mar-a-Lago.
So is this man was sitting here knowing that he knows Epstein. He's sitting here knowing that this looks very bad. And he did the DOJ thing, even though it's not directly tied to him, even though the president isn't allowed to interfere. He clearly did the DOJ thing where he told them to shut it down, and now people are rebelling against him, and he's sitting there like, how can I make it DEI?
Stephen Colbert takes it up a notch. He paints Trump as a magician who promises to pull a rabbit from his hat, but instead yanks out a greasy bag of fast food and waves it around like it's a Nobel Prize. Trump thrives on spectacle, but the only illusion he's perfected is pure distraction. Whether it's bragging that everything's the best, repeating himself like a busted infomercial, or whipping up so much chaos that nobody notices the fine print, Trump reigns as the king of smoke and mirrors, armed with a gold-plated fog machine.
No, you fool! Now there's one less job. Don't you see? You fell into her trap. But it makes sense. He fires anyone who gives him bad news. Mr. Dr. Cardiologist, you clearly rigged my cholesterol to be 1,000 and said my blood type was aioli. You're fired, happen or no, it's honey mustard.
Josh zeroes in on the absurdity of Trump's addiction to superlatives. For him, nothing is ever ordinary. It's always the biggest, the greatest, the most tremendous thing anyone's ever seen. If he built a sandbox, he'd boast it was the most luxurious sandbox in human history. If he lost a game of Monopoly, he'd spin it as a genius bankruptcy strategy. His entire universe runs on exaggeration, so relentless that reality itself has taken out a restraining order.
Foreign diplomats, world leaders had a dinner that Trump was at, and they made fun. This is his first term. They made fun of him at the dinner. He could probably hear him in the background. They were laughing. It was like Boris Johnson and Justin Trudeau and other people, and they were over here doing him. They were over here like just making fun of him hard, cracking up, talking about how he doesn't know how to spell, everything.
Stephen doesn't spare Trump's speaking style. Every speech sounds like a parody, starting strong, collapsing halfway, then spinning off in random directions. He treats grammar like alliances, optional and ignored. Listening to him is like a GPS glitch. Turn left in tremendous, actually we don't turn, we win. Josh jokes that Trump viewed the presidency as brand extension, fitting for a man whose biggest achievement might be merch sales. Stephen slices into his fragile ego, pointing out how he demands endless praise like a toddler stacking blocks, never satisfied, always needing more applause.
Clearly, you are not eager to see Kid Rock dance the Nutcracker, but the bill's sponsor says that Trump is a patron of the arts and a staple of the pop culture landscape. I'm sorry, but it's true. Trump is a staple of pop culture. Just last week, he was great on South.
If the news doesn't flatter him, it's fake. If polls don't favor him, they're rigged. Trump isn't just insecure, he's the first president whose mood depends on crowd size. He could save a kitten from a tree, but if only 3 people clapped, he'd demand it be put back until CNN covered it. Josh mocks his fast food obsession, reminding us how surreal it was watching the leader of the free world celebrate with towers of hamburgers like a frat boy throwing the saddest Super Bowl party. Guilty pleasures are fine, but serving champions a buffet that looked like the drive-thru exploded turned the White House into the world's fanciest food court. Colbert nails it. Trump's empire wasn't built on success, but on rebranding disaster until people mistook it for genius.
A little while later, he hit it. He hit it. I didn't know if it would come up again. I've been waiting. He hit it. He was like, the immigrants are coming, and they are taking the black jobs. I've been wondering what a black job was since the debate, because he said at the debate, and nobody called about it. Nobody caught it or anything. Black jobs. And then one of the women up there, because it was 3 women interviewing him. 3 black journalists were interviewing him, and one was like, "Sir, what is a black job?" And then he was like,
Josh mocks Trump's obsession with comparing himself to legends, Washington, Lincoln, Churchill, even Moses on the right day. Every press conference feels like an audition for Mount Rushmore, though his version would have neon lights and a food court. Stephen hits Trump's warped view of truth. Facts aren't stone, they're clay, bent to make him the hero while critics become villains. Josh adds that Trump never takes blame. Economy dips, the Fed. Policies flock, Congress. Rain at a rally, Mother Nature's a Democrat. He's like a driver who keeps crashing but swears the stop signs are biased.
Trump's treating Americans like a kid you can bribe with a treat. Allow me to demonstrate what Donald Trump is going for here. I don't care about pedophilia anymore. Delicious.
Stephen Colbert nails it, saying Trump doesn't just break norms, he rolls over them like speed bumps on the way to his next headline. He thrives on chaos, feeds on attention, and survives by never admitting defeat. He's the definition of fake it till you make it, except he never made it, just faked it louder until volume passed for victory. Together, Josh Johnson and Colbert strip away the myth, showing Trump not as a strong man, but a fragile showman hooked on attention. A president who governs like a reality TV host, treats policy like improv, and obsesses over ratings more than results. His political universe isn't government, it's a bad improv show where every scene revolves around him. Even as the country struggles with healthcare, education, and infrastructure, while he's still bragging about crowd sizes.
But according to Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, Jeffrey said he stopped hanging out with Trump when he realized Trump was a crook. Wow! That's extraordinary. Amazing. Jeffrey Epstein breaking it off with you because you're a crook. It's like walking into an intervention organized by Rudy Giuliani.
Josh Johnson nails it with perfect timing. Nothing screams presidential priorities like rerunning your inauguration crowd highlight reel, as if that decides the GDP. Colbert piles on, mocking Trump for turning the presidency into an ego trophy shelf, complete with cliffhangers, catchphrases, and chaos. Then comes Trump's vocabulary, so limited it's almost a competition with himself to see how many times tremendous can describe everything. Jobs report? Tremendous. Policy flop? Tremendous. It's not laziness, it's branding, hammering the word until followers chant it back like gospel. And speaking of gospel, nothing shows the absurd comedy of Trump's presidency more than his bizarre courting of evangelical voters.
We are doing tariffs?
Damn right we are. I ain't scared of shit.
Not even more expensive housing?
Tariffs are off.
But that will increase the trade deficit.
On again.
Well, what about the price of breakfast?
Off in the morning, on at night.
But Canada is retaliating.
Off with Canada, on with China. We'll go to war with China. I don't give a f.
Josh, China has nukes.
No tariffs on China. In fact, we're part of China now. Okay? All hail President Xi. You're the snake, mother. Get on board.
Josh Johnson cracks that Trump's Bible references sound like a kid bluffing through a book report. Remember the 2 Corinthians blunder? Colbert adds that Trump's Bible probably comes with pictures, captions, and a foreword by himself. The gap between his lifestyle and the values he claims to uphold is comedy gold. Only in Trump's world do casinos, pageants, and Twitter rants fly under holiness. But Johnson and Colbert really target his art of victimhood. Nobody plays martyr like a billionaire president in the world's most powerful office. Every setback is rigged, every probe a witch hunt, every critic unfair. Josh jokes it must be exhausting to always win, yet always be the biggest victim. Colbert runs with it, saying Trump's the only man who could win the lottery and still complain the numbers were mean.
This endless grievance fuels his rallies, interviews, and post-presidency persona, a self-proclaimed underdog who never stops bragging about being top dog.
It's like they were in the closet. Some of them were in the bathroom. There's all this stuff like that. Now, the speech that he gave, the rally he gave that I was talking about before, was towards the end of his presidency. And I think this is what I think happened. He started bringing up the water pressure. I'm pretty sure he tried to flush documents that day. Before the rally, like they were like, Mr. President, we have to go. Like we have to go. We're going to be late. And he's like, you know, he read something that didn't seem good. Everybody jokes he can't read. The man can read. He probably read it and was like, this one.
When Trump brags about his business genius, the jokes write themselves. Johnson reminds us that filing bankruptcy as often as he has would get anyone else denied for a credit card. Colbert adds, Trump's empire is a magic trick where the rabbit and the hat both vanish, a legacy of smoke, mirrors, and lawsuits disguised as brilliance. Then comes his social media meltdowns, a roast buffet on their own. Johnson compares his late-night tweets to global drunk dials, while Colbert says his feed reads like a high schooler's diary, dripping with sarcasm. These weren't harmless rants. They shaped headlines, even nuclear policy, from the same platform people use to complain about airline food. That mix of comedy and horror gave both comedians endless material, because the leader of the free world insisted on being Twitter's main character.
Obama! Thanks, Obama. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, Crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration? So I guess they were all in a room in this scenario, and they wrote the files together in tandem. Like Obama just knew that everyone in the Biden administration would be in the Biden administration one day, so he gathered them all together. But this is also before Epstein ever died or anything. So Obama time traveled to like right after to know it would hurt Trump. So then he came back in regular time and he sat down Hillary Clinton, Comey, Brennan, and the loser. He had to get all the losers and criminals of the Biden administration in one room so they could write. Also,
the harshest comedy comes from Trump's relationship with reality itself. Johnson says he bends facts like a magician pulling scarves, only the scarves are lies and the audience is America. Colbert mocks his alternative facts, from Sharpie-altered weather maps to endless fake records, showing how he lives in a bubble where truth is negotiable. The punchline is how passionately he sells it. Even his rallies, meant as shows of strength, become satire. Johnson calls them part rock concert, part therapy, part conspiracy seminar, with cheers louder for grievances than policy. Colbert adds they feel less like politics and more like open mic nights, same jokes, recycled nicknames, and a crowd that loves it, proving Trump isn't just a politician.